Hi friends, it's time to have the talk. You know the one that we're talking about, the talk. It's the dreaded conversation you have to have with a client, the one that might not go so well. Well, in this video, we're going to talk all about how I have these difficult conversations. Hi friends, my name is Vanessa Alzate, the founder and CEO of Anchored Training, and on this channel, we help learning and development professionals level up, not only in instructional design, but also in business. So today we're going to talk about having those dreaded, difficult client conversations. And listen, if we were in a perfect world, there would be rainbows, sunshines, everyone would get along. There would be Snow White and Cinderella type singing. Animals would come and dress us in the morning. You know, those kinds of days, that kind of environment. But we don't live in a perfect world. And sometimes you have to have really, really tough conversations with clients. And I know that can be super awkward. And if you're not used to having these tough conversations, not only with clients, but also with colleagues, it can be super intimidating. So here are some of my tips for you. First and foremost, you need to recognize when an engagement, a project, a client, a colleague, or a job is taking up your mental health and really taking a toll on it. And I'm not going to lie, it's not easy for everyone to recognize. And it's not easy for me to always recognize until I'm at my breaking point where I am irritable. I am super stressed. I am just super short with family and friends. And, I can't take phone calls because, I'm too busy with whatever is going on. You have to recognize those patterns in yourself. And it does take time. It takes reflection, but it also takes loved ones to help you, right? So maybe it's a spouse, a partner, a friend, just a trusted individual, a therapist, to sit here and say, hey, Vanessa, you know what? You're not doing well. And it sounds like a lot of the source of your frustration is this situation or this client or this, a situation that you're having at work. I think that you need to, recognize that and take some steps towards, getting yourself into a better place. So just know that you need to find ways to be able to have someone that can check you and say, you know what, you need to fix yourself because you're not doing well and I care about you and I want you to be in a better mental health space. Because you know what, if you are not good for yourself, you are not going to be good for anyone. Children, spouses, partners, friends, family, your clients, does not matter. You have to take care of yourself first. So know when a client or a project or a job is taking a toll on your mental health, first and foremost. With that, the next thing that I recommend doing, and I do often when I am in these difficult situations, is take some time to reflect. And sometimes it's just through sitting and meditating and processing what the situation is that I'm in. Sometimes it's a matter of writing it out and just really reflecting on the entire engagement where, things maybe started taking a turn, where I started really sensing that I was overworked or stressed out, and reflect on what could have caused that. Maybe it's, changes on the client side. Maybe it's that I took too much work on. Maybe I was stressed because I didn't have, another contract coming in and I was at the same time trying to hurry up and, get another contract in at the same time, really reflect on what's going on, because you'll know that often what affects work or what affects your mental health are also things that are extraneous to the actual job or the actual project. I mean, sometimes clients do suck. And sometimes it is, the project and the work that has you stressed out, but sometimes it's external factors that also affect what's going on internally. So for example, right, I just moved. As you can tell by the background that I'm changing constantly. This shall be white hopefully soon. I made a huge move. This move was not small by any stretch. And I thought I did everything that I needed to do to have a good April and May. And I didn't recognize, how much harder this move was going to be, than it was. I didn't realize how much my routine affected my everyday. I knew that it did affect my everyday, and I knew having my routine was super helpful, but how much it influenced my day and how it was going to go. That was a lot. And getting my kids together and changing daycares, changing schools, trying to learn this new place that I'm at that's like so different than I ever than I lived before. It's just a completely different lifestyle where I am now, and I'm trying to navigate that, and navigate, not working on Fridays and having the kids home, but still having work that needs to get done, and being the one that picks them up and takes them to school. It's just all the things, right? It started to affect my actual project work, to the point that I don't want to take full ownership of this project, because a lot of things were out of my control that affected how difficult this project ended up being. But some of it was the fact that I moved and I just didn't have my routine down. And I'm trying to work, but I have kids literally next to me, and things slipped. I'll be honest, things slipped. And I should have taken a moment, taken a deep breath, and navigated differently, or made some changes, and I didn't. And it came to the point where I had to, really think about these difficult conversations, and having that difficult conversation and recognize my part in it. That being said, not everything is going to be on you. And there's always multiple sides. So I do want to, be aware of that, and I do want to recognize that. So definitely take some time, long tangent, but definitely take some time to reflect. And also super cathartic that I do love doing is writing a nasty email. I don't send it. I send it to myself. I send it to a friend. But sometimes I just need to get the F words out of me. I'm from Jersey. We are sailors here. And I just need to get all of the words that I want to say out so that they are released from me. I notice that when I bury things so often, it really comes out the wrong moment, and usually to the wrong people, or you see it on my face. People have to text me and be like, you need to fix your face on this call. So definitely recommend, writing that email too, and just not sending it to your client. So once you've had some time to reflect and process, I think a really great and powerful thing for you to do is to think of the outcome that you want out of the situation and start identifying solutions for it, right? So there is something so powerful, especially as a consultant, when you see something that is going left, when you come with a solution to help shift the course back, and sometimes even multiple solutions. Clients really respect that, and they notice that, and they acknowledge that. And if there is something that was maybe your fault, let's just say, and you come with a solution to say, hey, I apologize for this, just reflecting, saying I'm sorry, and just saying, hey, this is what my new courses, or this is what I'm going to do in order to make up for what happened, right? So maybe it's that you didn't QC a document enough. So I'm going to bring in a friend, or I'm going to bring in, a colleague to review my materials, or what, can I have an extra couple of hours on this day just to go through it, and with a fresh set of eyes. I want to be able to close the laptop and then open it up the next day and review it, so that I know that it is the best for you. Okay, maybe it's 2 hours later that they were expecting it, but you know what? They'll appreciate the fact that you recognized where you could have done better, and you are offering a solution in order to minimize their time later. So if you can come up with solutions for whatever the difficult conversation is, I think that is super helpful. And sometimes the solution is, I think that we need to part ways, and that's okay. And we'll get to that at the end. So when you do schedule this meeting with your client, I don't want you to have this difficult conversation via email. I want you to pick up the phone or, schedule a time for a call or schedule a time for a Zoom meeting or an in-person meeting. So much cannot be read through email. I think we all know that, right? Text and email, you have no tone. So it's whatever way you want to interpret it. You interpret it that day is how it is, right? So maybe one day you had a really great day and you're going to interpret it not that bad. Another day you just had a really shitty day and it's going to be like the worst text or email you ever got when that wasn't even the thing. So just have the meeting over the phone, preferably over Zoom or, in person if you can, when that's allowed, if that's a viable option. The other thing with scheduling your meeting is don't just pick up the phone and be like, hey, I want to have this difficult conversation. Let's just do this right now. Schedule time with them, but also be aware, read the room. When's a good time to have the conversation? End of day Friday, that ain't it. Beginning of the day Monday, also not it. So no one is when it's the best time to have that conversation, and know when, maybe your client is a little bit busier or they're prepping for some really big meetings. So the day before isn't the time for that conversation. So just really, read the room, read the situation with your client to recognize when's a good day and time to have that conversation. A little bit after the morning time for me seems to be the best time, because then they've, started their day, they've checked their email, they've had their coffee. And after that, if they need to take a break, take a walk, they have hopefully a little bit more time to take a walk if they need to, because it's close to lunchtime. So during the meeting, I want you to do a few things. First, be honest and be frank, but don't be so frank that you are rude, but just be open, honest, transparent, be clear. Don't sugarcoat things. Don't try to make them better and bring in, the flowers and the rainbows. This is the time to have that difficult conversation. This is the time to be honest, frank, and just say it like you mean it, right? In a respectful and professional tone. Clients will respect that, right? They will respect the fact that you are taking the time to be honest and be frank and be direct with them, because they don't want to have to read between the lines. They don't want to have to figure out what you were trying to say. So be honest, be direct, and, of course, be transparent. During the meeting, I also want you to practice active listening. And this is truly a skill that needs to be practiced. So loved ones, other colleagues, I think it's definitely a good safe space to practice active listening and recognize that, yes, we all know what active listening is, but do we do it? Really think about it. And I know that in the past when I've talked about your personal brand and talking to your loved ones about how they see you when they see you, I think this is a conversation to have with them too. Do you think I'm a good listener, a legitimately good listener? And let them share that, share their feedback with you and tell them this is a safe space. And I want you to be honest with me because I want to be better in my business. And I want to make sure that I am doing my part, to be able to have these difficult conversations. So first things first, shut off all distractions. When I know I'm going into having a super difficult meeting that I need to be laser focused for, my email goes down, my phone gets turned around and it gets put to the side. We don't see her, we don't know her. I shut down any and all notifications because I do not want at any moment to all of a sudden get distracted by something else. And that for me is super important. So I also won't schedule these meetings when I know my kids are going to be home, right? Because I know that they'll likely run in or they'll be banging at the door, when I finally get a door in here. And that's going to be super distracting and throw me off of having this difficult conversation. So put away all distractions. Next, pay attention to body language. That's why I love the idea of doing this through Zoom or in person, because you could actually sense the body language, but also pay attention to your body language. If you're sitting there like this, they're not going to want to be open with you. They're not going to want to work with you. They're not going to think that you are being open to this conversation. So practice, sitting back, sitting relaxed, breathing a little bit, taking some time before your meeting to meditate and take a deep breath. Probably don't have espresso right beforehand. But take that time for yourself to just like chill so that your body language can be open and receptive to what it is that they might have to say. Pay attention to tone. So this is something else, like as you're listening to things, think about the tone. And sometimes like I will write down little notes and I just let them know like, hey, I'm just taking notes here because I just want to make sure that I am capturing all of your feedback, and I just want to make sure that, you know, I want to make sure that I'm giving you a full answer. So I'm just writing down any like things that I have to come back to answer and things like that. And note tone when you're saying that or when you're doing that. I think that tone can be so powerful and it really sets the tone for how the call is going to go. So starting your conversations with a smile and really just having that tone of being open and direct and looking for a solution that can work for both is really important when you're having these difficult conversations. Ask questions. And don't ask questions like just to ask them. Ask questions because you want to understand more, right? You want to really understand why they made that decision or why they think that way, or, you know, why they did this or why they did that. Like really ask questions to dive deeper into what the issue is between you and your client, or you and your friend, or you and your colleague, because that is the only way you are going to get to a place where you can move on, do better. So make sure you're asking good, thoughtful questions that have them talking more than you talk. Also, make sure that you're listening for clarity and understanding. So back to like the questions, right? So often I think that when we listen to someone, we are listening to them in order to prepare a rebuttal for what they just said. We're not listening to understand their point of view. And when you can make that shift, it really helps with these difficult conversations because you can navigate it from a space of where like, I can't work with you anymore. We need to part ways to, okay, I understand why you said that. I understand, your perspective on that. Here is mine here. And then here are some solutions so that we can work better together in the future, because you don't want every difficult conversation to end where either you're giving in for everything, or the client just kind of leaves with a bad taste in their mouth and decides, you know what, I'm just going to part ways. Like you want to be able to have conversations where you learned, you reflected, and you saw each other's sides and you came up with a solution that worked best for both of you. Know that you can do this, right? You can acknowledge your client and you can acknowledge their feelings, but you don't have to agree with all of their thoughts and their feelings. And know that so often when you're working with clients, like they don't very often see your side of things because they see themselves as like the client, we're paying you for your services. But know that that is a possibility. So like I can see you, I can hear you, I can acknowledge that you felt that way, but I'm not going to agree that with your feelings and provide, and at some point you kind of just have to like agree to disagree, but you acknowledged. And that is the important part where you can like respect someone for acknowledging the fact that like, I didn't agree with you, but I hear you, I see you, and I validate your feelings. Like I could work with someone like that usually. Know that sometimes you have to give time and space. Like they may be off guard, like, or thrown off guard with what you're saying to them or like how you're reflecting on things. So they might need time and space to like process, deal. Like you had time before this meeting because you knew what was the conversation was going to be and what you wanted to say. Like you had time to process it and reflect. You have to give that same space to them. So sometimes it's a matter of like having the conversation with them, saying, hey, here are some solutions. We don't have to decide today. Let me give you some time to like process this, think about this, and then what's a good day and time like for us to come back together to finish up this conversation and to talk about next steps, and schedule that follow-up. But make sure you're giving that time and space because you took it beforehand. You should be giving that same to them because you also don't want them making a decision in the heat of the moment. And like I said earlier, know that at some point there's just going to be some difficult clients or some difficult conversations that you need to like just agree to end the contract. That it's just not gelling. You're just not working best together, and you're not going to be able to provide them with the outcomes that they are looking for, and that's okay. Sometimes you have to fire a client, and sometimes the client has to fire you. And you know what? It sucks in the moment, but it's a blessing for later because it gives you the experience, right, that you need in order to do better in a future engagement, to do better with other clients, and to learn from that, grow. And maybe it freed you up to take on a better project that really fit more into what you're looking to do with your career. You just never know. Like, it's so silly to say it, but truly, when one door closes, a lot of times another one opens, and it just takes some time in order for you to see that. Well, friends, are you prepared for your next difficult conversation? It's okay if you're not. That's why we have the Freelance Learning and Development Network on Facebook that I want you to join, so we can have some of these conversations. We can help each other model, difficult conversations, empathetic conversation, empathetic listening, and make sure that we support each other as we grow as learning and development professionals. Friends, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.